Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this October 6th, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony, and you're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can catch my show every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's Pacific time on First Amendment. They also play the show at 11 a.m., and if you can't get it there, please go to my long-standing website at arcticbeacon.com, that's arcticbeacon.com, and you can get shows going back over a decade talking about what many people keep their mouths shut about in this country. That's the Vatican-led New World Order, and how its tentacles spread throughout the world to create chaos, destruction, and presently their goal is to destroy the United States from within and by using other means, perhaps a large-scale war. We're going to talk about that today. But first, it's been a long week. A lot of stuff going on, and it's Thursday. We got one more day of broadcasting this week, and tomorrow I have on Bert Krantz of the Alamo Ministry to come on. I've started a petition drive, and you can get the link on many different places. Facebook, you'll get it at my website. Facebook for First Amendment Radio's put it on, and you can go to alamoministries.com and read about it. But we're doing a great job so far. It's the first round. We've got about 100 people in a couple days to sign up, and that's to free Tony Alamo, a Christian pastor who's been put in jail on bogus charges because he talks about what I talk about. That's the Vatican-led New World Order. But he created a ministry to help people, a Christian ministry, and that's a target in this country. If you are a Christian and you want to speak the truth about what your government's all about, how the Vatican plays a role in it, what they really are as far as being the Antichrist system, you're going to have a problem. Especially if you have a successful ministry like Tony did. So go to there, and we'll talk about it tomorrow if you want to catch tomorrow's show. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. But today I want to let's talk about one thing. I just read a story which I found really interesting, and it just shows you how our government and the Vatican operate. Now, here we have this pastor, and there's other people who have been put in jail for no reason. Basically, they've been targeted because they speak the truth in one way or another about the plans of the Vatican-led New World Order. Now, one of these people, listen to the headline, Obama and the Department of Non-Justice, I call it, drops charges against alleged broker of Libyan weapons. Now, this arms dealer had threatened to expose Hillary Clinton's talks about arming anti-Gaddafi rebels in Libya. And remember, that led to ISIS taking over that country. There's even talk that they were actually giving the weapons to ISIS, which happened to be, you never knew who were the anti-Gaddafi rebels. Were they ISIS, infiltrated by ISIS? So they were getting weapons. We're funding ISIS, and this guy, the Obama administration dismissed charges against an arms dealer that had been accused of selling weapons to the Libyan rebels because it was going to basically shed terrible light on Hillary Clinton. This happened when she was in the State Department, and they don't want this stuff to come out. It will look really bad for Obama and Clinton just before the election, said one person close to the Obama administration. Now, basically, this arms dealer talked about it. He basically said, Mr. Turi, now this is his last name, Turi, cooperated with the Department's Directorate of Defense Trade Controls in its review and proposed administrative settlement and alleged violations. Now, he engaged in brokering activities of weapons going into the Syrian or the Libyan rebels, and this was going to basically uncover that this had been authorized by Hillary Clinton in the State Department. And boy, this government our government went all over and spent millions of dollars, went all over the world to bankrupt this guy and destroy his life, all to protect Clinton's crimes. And that's what he said, alluding to the deadly September 11, 2012 terrorist attack at the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya. And we all know that she had a stand-down order, so these four Americans died there. And then she had the audacity to lie to two of the family members who lost their loved ones there, saying that she didn't realize it was a terrorist attack and thought it was a video that was playing. But recently, emails have been uncovered that many hours before that, she sent an email to Chelsea Clinton admitting it was a terrorist attack. And then there was another email they uncovered that admitted she knew it was a terrorist attack and did nothing about it and allowed these four men to die. When we could have sent in troops and help, which were a couple hours away. It's an amazing story, and for that reason, she shouldn't be elected president. But it seems the media forgets about that. So here we have this arms dealer being let free, while we have a Christian pastor serving 175 years for crimes he didn't commit. That's what's going on, folks. Now, let's talk about something that I was aware. Let's talk about terrorism. Now, I told you many times that back in the 80s, I lived and worked in Rome as a journalist, and I understood what terrorism was all about when I was almost killed in a terror attack, a bomb exploding in the American newspaper, and I was seconds away from not being here today because it blew up in a hallway I just had walked through. And luckily I was down below and when the bomb exploded, which ripped that hallway apart. That made me realize what the heck is going on here. And so I did find out that the American newspaper I worked for was funded by the CIA, and I knew this had to be an inside job. But anyway, I won't spend the half hour talking about that, but it led me to understand how does terrorism work, who's funding it. It was actually a terrorist group called into the AP and UPI and said it was a right-wing or left-wing group that was opposing the hangman Ronald Reagan coming to Rome. And basically it was funded by us, and it was to create that strategy of tension. That's what we called it back then in Italy. Now that has blown up all over the world. And you're seeing something that's so amazing. And this is this Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey alliance that's growing now. And I'm going to play I look all over to see who's talking in these terms, at least getting close to the truth. And I found one presentation about 25 minutes long that I'll play. But I did want to give you a backdrop to this story. Where did the funding for all of these terrorist attacks come from? Well, it all started years ago with James Jesus Angleton and who was it? Wild Bill Donovan. They were the head of the OSS, which turned into the CIA. And they were talking to the Pope at the time. I think it was Pope, which one? It was the Pope that Pacelli, Cardinal Pacelli, who became Pope Pius XII, that was actually Hitler's mentor. And they got this idea. They were trying to figure out, they were going to start the World War II was ending, so they had to figure out another way. They were starting to figure out a way to destabilize the world by using the same tactic they're using today, but basically it was anti-communist groups going into countries all over the world. Remember the uproars in South America, Central America, and in Eastern Europe, all over the place. So they had to create these groups that would create this tension between communism and freedom and democracy. And so they had to figure out a way to fund it because they couldn't go through normal channels, right? You're not going to go to the Congress and go, okay, we need an appropriation bill to bring down the the Cambodian, the leader of Cambodia and make it look like the Viet Cong did it, just to give you an example. But what they did was they looked at Mao Zedong and what was going on in China and how they were how Chiang Kai-shek was funding his groups that were creating tension with Mao Zedong. So what they did in China was to use money, drug money. They would grow heroin, poppy fields, and then they would sell heroin to their own people and people around the world, and they would use that money, that drug money, to fund their war. So wow, that rang a bell. And so the three of our most famous criminals, Pope Pius XII, Angleton, and Donovan, who formed the CIA, said, why don't we do that? So we got to find a place to grow poppy. So they went to Burma and did it there for years. And the money just started, the cash register was rolling. Now they're funding all these terror groups, right? And that continued on for years. And they had to figure out a way to get that money into the hands of these people without, how are they going to do this? So they used the Vatican Bank as a money laundering operation. They'd put it through the Vatican, then wash it up there, and then distribute it as if it was legal tender. Wow, what an operation they had going. However, what happened was there was a huge drought in Burma, and within a couple of years, their profits were cut by 80%, so they had to find another place. And guess where that place is? Afghanistan. That's the reason we really went there. So they create, it's still there today. Our troops still protect these poppy fields, and they're still using that money. They're laundering it, again, through the Vatican Bank, and there's several other money laundering banks they use now. And so that's one way they fund, which was called in Italy Operation Gladio. Okay, we've heard of that. That's where the money came from. And then many, many other ways they figured out to bypass Congress so that the American people didn't know a darn thing about where this is happening. Now, how are they funding terror today? In similar means. They do the same thing. They're using, in fact, they've even grown bigger by using the drug cartels in Mexico and Central America and South America. That's why the big drug dealers never get pinched and are allowed to come through the border, because they're getting a cut out of it. And they're using that money to fund ISIS. And that basically is the overview of how they do this. But now what's going on in the world? Why is the Obama-Clinton policy seem to bolster Iran, destabilize Syria? Every Middle Eastern country now is overrun by ISIS. It's all over in Africa through Boko Haram and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you heard about this Turkey, this coup in Turkey. And guess what? It was the CIA again who bungled the attempt to kill Erdogan, the president. And basically now Turkey's a mess. And this Russia, China, Iran, Turkey alliance has a real implication in how this the world balance of power will play out. And maybe the drums of war are rumbling now. And is it us, NATO, against them? And is Turkey pulling out of NATO? What about our military base there with all the nukes in Turkey? Now, Turkey was always kind of a firewall of a country. It was Islamic, but very, very moderate, so to speak, secular. And it wasn't like Saudi Arabia and these other countries. But now, guess what happened? A man by the name of Fethullah Gulen, which I had first found out about in 2005, was basically an imam from Turkey who was working with he's a CIA asset, working as a moderate imam. And what his goal was to bring Sharia law and caliphate to Turkey and then other countries in Europe, which he did. Now, when Erdogan escaped this coup after he was tipped off and wasn't killed, he began to round up all of the dissidents in his country that were working basically for Gulen, which were the radicals. Now, that's not how it's reported here. It's just, they give you the opposite story. So what happens? Where did you hear Fethullah Gulen's name first? Well, Erdogan said to our leaders, you turn Gulen over to us, and then we can see if we can stabilize our relations. Now, what does that mean? Well, in 1999, Bill and Hillary Clinton brought this imam here from Turkey in exile after he did his dirty work there to open up charter schools here that even American people aren't allowed to go to, right? They open up these charter schools teaching, even bringing Turkish teachers over in the guise of moderate Islam to teach us about the good things about Islam. And basically, he started over 150 of these schools all over the country, funded by over $150 million and more by American taxpayers. And what he's really doing, it's kind of like the big Trojan horse. He's teaching radical Islam behind the scenes. Some of his Schools have been investigated. Even Sybil Edmonds in 2011, that whistleblower, I have a little video by her today, if I get to it, that'll show you who this man really is. Now, do you realize what happened? At first, Obama said, no, we can't release him. Then secondly, about 2 weeks later, Kerry said, yes, we will release him, but it will take time. Nothing has been said about it since. And he sits in a mansion in the Pocono Mountains right now. So you have your leaders funding radical Islam overseas and bringing it here. Obama, Clintons, they should be tried as traitors immediately if the truth ever be known, which it won't because the mainstream media won't touch this story with a 10-foot pole. Now, I tried to check that out. None of these stories get touched by the mainstream media. You can find a few of them on the internet, which I did. And I'm going to play you a video called Russia, China, Iran, Turkey alliance will change the balance of power in the world, leaving NATO hung up to dry. Now, this man, whose name is von Mueller, who presents this, leaves out one important thing. Now, I haven't listened to the whole thing, so maybe he got to it at the end, but the question becomes, is this just random? Do these countries just want to fight each other? Do we really have democracy here? Or is there something above that controls this? Well, yes, when their goal was World War II, we researched that all the leaders were really working for a secret society at the top, the Vatican, of course, controlling how the chess pieces move, creating tension. Well, they're doing the same thing, and it isn't fiction to say that all of these leaders at the top, including ours, work together, giving their people a different story. And if you think they're not pitting Islam against Christianity to destroy both, you're really wrong. Because look at the difference. If you have a Christian country, let's see how much time I got here. Well, I got a few minutes. We'll start it and then run it over in the second half hour, or maybe do it in the second half hour, and then I'll have to get to that Sybil Edmonds Gulen video at another time. But I've done many shows on Gulen, so you can go to my archives and get that. But think about this. If a Christian country grows in population, let's say you have a Christian country that starts out at 10%, ends up at 90%, you're not going to see other religions punished, not allowed to practice. You're going to see a place that is pretty harmonious. But what happens with Islam? And I don't care if you call it radical or not, just let's call it that. Any country that grows to be 90% or more, you have a very restrictive country. People are killed if they worship other religions. You know the humanitarian violations, and that goes hand in hand. So if we start out here with 2% Islam and it grows to be 90, we have a completely different country. You won't be able to even go to another church without being killed, so to speak. And if you don't think so, start looking at some information on what happens to countries when the Islamic religion grows to be in the majority. It's not pretty. So think about that. And it's not being racist or being, it's basically fact. Now you have the Clintons taking money from all these countries that break humanitarian laws, and they put it in their little Clinton Foundation. That's okay, though, isn't it? No, it's not. Because really, she should be tried as a traitor. But it never will happen because the Pope at the top and the Jesuits at the top have a plan. And when their target is America, and their plan is to unite the world to destroy these two main religions and create a new one, and destroy nationalism in countries and create a one-world government, that's what they have to do. And they have to get rid of Christianity and Islam. And that's what's happening. That's why there's so many Muslims killing Muslims right now. Muslims killing Christians. And it's coming over here. And she wants a policy in her presidential campaign of open borders, allowing these people to run wild in our country. For what reason? I think it's pretty obvious. Let's start this. I got about 5 minutes here, and the one thing he misses is that making the Vatican connection. So listen up, though, because he has some good information. Here we go. Put that on for me, will you? Okay, let's see. We got it.
Today we're going to be talking about something very important. We're going to be talking about what's happening over in Turkey today. It's very important. And you might say to yourself, well, what does Turkey have to do with my life here in America? It means nothing. And I would disagree with you. Because what's happening in Turkey will set some things in motion, will set the dominoes into play that will affect your life here in America. I can assure you of that. You see, the CIA and the Mossad, they made a big mistake when they tried to do that coup over in Turkey. Their mistake was they didn't get Erdogan. See, Erdogan escaped. The CIA, the Mossad, they had him right in their sights. I mean, they had him surrounded at the compound. He was on vacation. A lot of Erdogan's bodyguards were killed, but they made a huge mistake. Erdogan survived. He escaped. And what he went on to do, well, the dominoes are in motion, and I tell you, will affect your life here in America. So let's talk about it. Basically, what we're talking about here is history in the making. We're talking about a Russia, China, Iran, Turkey alliance that would change the balance of power from this day forward, courtesy of your central leaders you voted for and the central planners that you did not vote for. It amazes me, to this day, it amazes me how Putin has just sat back and played this international game of chess so beautiful. I mean, I am awe-stricken. Literally, I am amazed at how he played Obama and Hillary for fools. Not only Obama and Hillary, it all started back when Bush started throwing trillions of dollars down that black hole. And we kept on throwing those billions and billions of dollars down a black hole. And Hillary and Obama never changed anything. They actually doubled down. Obama doubled down on spending trillions into a black hole. And all the while, Putin sat back patiently. It was a chess master that I am in awe of, I swear to God. If only America had a leader half as brilliant as Putin, we wouldn't be in this shithole dilemma that we face today. But let's go on to some of the facts. Okay, here's the facts. Erdogan, who not long ago was having problems with Russia, he has completely flipped around. And we can thank your so-called leaders, your CIA and your Mossad for that. But what has Erdogan done? First of all, Erdogan has apologized. He has apologized to Putin and Russia for shooting down the Russian military aircraft last year. But Russia already knew that Erdogan had nothing to do with that. Russia already knew that the decision to shoot down the Russian jet was made by the CIA Mossad, influencing the rogue military general. See, shooting down the Russian jet was all a plan by the Western powers to make Russia mad at Turkey. And if Russia was mad at Turkey, then there was no chance of Russia and Turkey forming an alliance. And wow, do you see where this is going? Because what we're talking about, I tell you, is history in motion. This could be the downfall of NATO. This could be the downfall of Western powers as we know it. And I'm going to get to that. But first, okay, first things first.
Okay, so I got to take a break. Good stuff, though, huh? We're going to come back and play that entire presentation. Fits nicely into the next segment. So back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal. And before I get back to this interesting presentation, Russia, China, Iran, Turkey alliance, let me make a comment. Well, basically, God, it just seems like there's one thing after another. I don't think my listeners in Florida are going to be listening to the show tonight, as all of the east coast of Florida is being evacuated with that impending huge hurricane coming through. That's going to really be, the way they're talking about it now, if it stays its course at a Category 4, 140 mile-an-hour winds, ripping the east coast from Palm Beach all the way up to Jacksonville and further on up the coast into South Carolina. It's something that I think, say a prayer for those people. Many are evacuating now, and I'm going to be closely watching that this evening. But anyway, let me make a comment on this video. What he's talking about, you can't get what he's saying on the mainstream at all. And when you come down to the internet, you're going to find very few people talking in these terms. But the ones that do seem to leave out the Vatican connection here, and how, he was praising Putin, but that's Putin's role. You see, they have a plan here. And this plan is more devious than you really think. It isn't just countries fighting countries. There is, at the top levels, I believe, each of their leaders selling out for a higher cause. And you know what that cause is if you listen to my show. So that's where we differ a little bit and take it one step farther. So let's get back to this very, very good presentation, though. Yeah, put that on for me, will you?
Erdogan apologizes to Putin for shooting down the jet, even though that wasn't Erdogan's plan. That was actually a plan to actually get Erdogan out of office. You see, that's what happened. The CIA backstabbed Erdogan. Erdogan has figured it out. So what does he do? What does Erdogan do after apologizing to Putin? for shooting down a jet. The next thing he goes into talks with Russia. The talks began immediately. And what are these talks about? These talks are about Russia, you're going to have to protect me. These CIA, Mossad, Western people, they came after me, and they came after me hard. It's a miracle I'm still here talking to you. And Putin's just smiling the whole time. Sure, Turkey, come into the open arms of the bear. We will form the Russian, China, Iran, Turkey alliance that will change the balance of power from this day forward. Hail, Napoleon of Russia. I tell you, this is very, very important to your life here in America, because what happens when Turkey turns its back on NATO, when Turkey turns its back on the European powers and the U.S. powers, well, this sets the dominoes in motion. I tell you, this is serious. When you think about how important Turkey is, and if Turkey turns their back on NATO, do you know that there are so many other countries out there who would love to turn their back on NATO? A lot of these countries involved with NATO are only there because they're scared of the U.S. They're scared of NATO and European powers. So if you could get one power, one strong country like Turkey, if you could get that country like Turkey to effectively and successfully turn their back on NATO, just say, to hell with you, Europe, to hell with you, NATO, and to hell with you, U.S., and then they go into the open arms of the bear, the Russian bear, and they form this Russian, China, Iran, Turkey alliance, I tell you, the balance of power is changing. And Europe will need energy. Europe needs natural gas. Europe will have to. If this ends up going through, Europe will have to turn their back on America, and Europe will then have to go into the open arms of this new Russian-China alliance. So it is so important what's happening over there. This mistake that was made last month with the coup, and believe you me, they made a huge mistake over there. They made many mistakes. And Erdogan found out how evil these people he was dealing with were. They were evil. And I guess it should not surprise any of us that when you're talking about evil, Hillary Clinton will not be too far from the equation. Yes, it turns out that Gulen, you know who Gulen is, he's Erdogan's enemy who is living here in America, and Gulen has a billion-dollar empire of Muslim schools all through America, and it shouldn't surprise any of us that Hillary is involved with this. Gulen is a Hillary supporter. Jesus, I tell you, when the more you dig into these evil people, the more you find out how evil they are, and Erdogan finally figured it out. See, in the beginning, he was happy to deal with these people, Hillary, the Mossad, the CIA, and boy, did it turn quickly. Wow, did it turn quickly. Erdogan is lucky to be alive. Lucky to be alive. He's a complete idiot. To even go into bed with these people, to go into bed with the CIA and to go into bed with Hillary, you're a filthy pig just to go into bed with them. But he must be a lucky filthy pig because he escaped the clutches of Hillary and her evil clan. So, let's get to the unintended consequences of these central planners, these evil central leaders that we have in control of America. There are unintended consequences. So when they tried to pull that coup last month in Turkey, when they tried to put down Erdogan, but they failed miserably, now we have set the dominoes into motion. And this is going to have lasting effects, I tell you, on Americans. This sets in motion, literally, the fall of the Western Empire. Because if Erdogan can pull this off, if Erdogan can successfully leave NATO and go into the open arms of Putin, if he can pull this off, well, do you have any idea what the CIA has in store for him? I know this is going to get serious because the CIA will not let Erdogan leave NATO. They cannot. They will do anything and everything to stop Erdogan to go into the protective arms of Russia. And we don't know how Gulen's going to play into this. He's just an old man with $1 billion empire of Muslim schools, and he's trying to support Hillary. But anybody who supports Hillary, they're going to fall, and they're going to fall hard too. Anybody around Hillary is going to fall. Hillary's going down hard. So let's hope that probably Gulen goes down hard with Hillary. But don't forget how serious the CIA is taking this. The CIA is taking it so seriously that they're having talks with Obama on it daily. And you can imagine what the CIA wants to do. They want Erdogan eliminated. But here we have Obama. Obama is in his last months of his dictatorship. And this is where it gets confusing, because I don't believe that Obama is going to want to okay the assassination of Erdogan at this point in the game, because it gets really, really messy with Russia. So what does Obama do? He sends over Biden. So that's the main story, I guess, today we're talking about, that Obama, the Western powers, they take this so seriously that even months before Biden is going into civilian life, here he has to take a trip to Turkey, and he has to get on his hands and knees, and he has to beg Turkey and apologize, and he also has to make up excuses to why he's not going to give up Gulen. Yeah, Obama is not going to hand over Gulen to Erdogan, and this is making Erdogan extremely angry. So what's the play here? Here's the play. Erdogan is just going to sit back patiently in the protection of Russia. He's going to want to extort America for billions and billions of dollars. Who knows? He might go for $1 trillion here. This is what it comes down to. Erdogan, before he officially goes into Russian arms, before he officially leaves NATO, he's going to extort Obama for probably close to $1 trillion. Obama will give Erdogan as much money as he wants, so that will stall the CIA. See, this is what it comes down to. Obama is just going to try to stall the CIA until he gets out of office. Obama doesn't really want to have anything to do with this. That's why Obama sent Biden. And if you want to know how Turkey feels about Biden and the U.S. and the Yankees, well, you can imagine. And then there's a second part of why Biden had to go to Turkey, because guess what happened to all the military leaders who were NATO buddies? All the military leaders in Turkey who were friends of NATO, who were friends of Obama, friends of the United States CIA and the Mossad, well, they're not very happy right now. You're looking at the pictures of the lucky ones. They're the ones who are still alive. I can tell you that all the military leaders who were in bed with NATO, who were involved with the CIA and the Mossad, half of them are missing. Yes, this is serious business. And you may feel sorry for Turkey. I do feel sorry for Turkey. This is a nightmare unfolding. But the good thing is, it looks like Erdogan figured out that he was nothing but a puppet, that he was being controlled by some very evil people. And when those evil people made their decision to take out Erdogan, well, Erdogan got extremely lucky. And then Erdogan set in motion some things that I think are going to change your life in America. I hope to get to that very soon. But let's not forget how it's going to happen. Let's take it step by step. As soon as Erdogan escaped the assassination attempt, like I said, then he started to take down all the NATO leaders in Turkey. You see, the Turkey military were full of people who their alliance was to NATO, their alliance was to the CIA and the Mossad and so forth. And so, though, like I say, those people are in bad shape, and they're gone. The second thing that Erdogan did after eliminating the NATO leaders in his military was then he went to Putin and he apologized for shooting down their jet. And then he immediately went into talks with Russia, saying, hey, I'm tired of the NATO, protect me. And Russia, like I said, Putin just sat back smiling and said, yes, this is a very, very good plan. Yes, the Russian, China, Iran, Turkey alliance, we will change the balance of power from this day forward. So are you starting to see how this could affect your life here in America in the future? Think about it. Our sanctions, that's what the United States government does all the time. They put sanctions on people like Russia and Iran. And if our sanctions are not working, if Turkey is going to go into an alliance with Russia and China and Iran, and they form this alliance, that means that our sanctions will be nothing. Our sanctions will be a joke. And then what it really turns out is that the world, including Turkey, Russia, China, they are starting to make their move against America because the timing is right. Never forget the chess master Putin, sitting back patiently, waiting for the right time. I tell you, the timing is now perfect, because after years and years of nonstop war, and $4 trillion, or who knows, it might be $6 trillion thrown down that black hole, they waited to the right time, and now they think it's the right time to form this alliance. And they have also proven to the world, what's more importantly here, Russia and Iran has proven to the world that your sanctions mean nothing to us. Look at us. We're surviving. Not only are we surviving, we have countries like Turkey who want to leave NATO and come to us. Yes, the balance of power is turning. And remember, this is the reason why Americans have it so good. You think you go to Walmart and the stores are full in Walmart. And I see all these people, they have no jobs, but there are no riots in the streets. And this is what really confuses me. Here we are in America, 100 million people out of the workforce, 50 million people on food stamps, but everything seems to be quiet and hunky-dory. And I tell you, it's because of the Federal Reserve Note, that the world still has respect for the Federal Reserve Note. The reason why these people who have no job, but they have public housing, they have SNAP card programs. I'm telling you, the reason why everything seems so relatively calm right now in America is because of the Federal Reserve Note, and the world still respects it. But this is the most important thing I want to stress here, is that if the world turns their back on us, and that's what we are talking here, the risks that we have of Turkey turning its back on NATO, and then after Turkey successfully leaves NATO and goes into the Russia-China alliance, there'll be other countries that follow. The dominoes will be set in motion, and if those other countries leave leave NATO, more countries will leave NATO, more countries will leave the United Nations. They will also have their own currency. If you go into the Russia-China alliance, you will then be dealing with their currency system. Russia and China is now forming their own currency system. Our sanctions are so strong and brutal sanctions that we put on countries like Cuba and Russia and Turkey and Iran. They'll mean nothing. The Federal Reserve Note will literally drop. And normally, remember, when these collapses happen, they happen pretty quickly. See, that's we've just been waiting. Everybody has been waiting and waiting for the Federal Reserve Note to collapse for 100 years. But here it is. It's just been going on and on and on. And I say when it does happen, it'll probably happen quickly. And I say that this is very, very important. If Turkey is successful in leaving NATO, this will embarrass the CIA to no end. The CIA will do anything to stop it. And that's why Obama has sent Biden to Turkey to try to smooth things over until he can get out of office. Don't think that Obama will not give Turkey $1 trillion. Just to smooth things over until he gets out of office. That's probably what Biden's there for. Biden is there to say, okay, we're sorry what we did. We're sorry. Take it easy on our NATO generals. Take it easy on some of our NATO generals. Send them to America if you can. We'll give you $1 trillion. Just don't do anything until Obama leaves office, please. Erdogan will just sit back laughing. Okay, I'll take your $1 trillion. And then when Obama is out of office, he'll go into the arms of the Russian bears, and then you will see the dominoes tumble. And I tell you, the effects at home will be that the Federal Reserve Note won't look so good. And if the Federal Reserve note doesn't look so good, that means the SNAP card people won't be able to buy as much food. And if the SNAP card people, the 50 million SNAP card people, if they can't buy enough food, well, they'll get angry and violence will start popping up in the inner cities. It already has to some extent, but when it really starts to happen, trust me, it will get scary. So there'll be martial law. Of course, when the violence starts to hit the inner cities, of course, our so-called leaders will want to enact martial law. Who knows, they might even start instructing the inner cities to start going to Gulen's Muslim schools. We really don't know exactly how these central planners and these central leaders are going to react when the violence starts to hit the inner cities. My best guess is you should be far away from the big cities. When this all starts to go down, it would be nice if you were out in the country somewhere, because these people in charge, if Hillary, Lord help us, if Hillary's there, it'll almost be like when she was talking about Libya. You see, Hillary hates Americans, but she'll probably treat Americans like she treated the people over in Libya. What did she say about the people in Libya? She said, "Oh, I came, I saw, he died." I mean, this woman is evil. And let's just hope that Hillary Clinton is thrown under the bus, and I would much rather see Donald Trump in there, a man who is not a career politician. See, Donald Trump has no history of killing people. I mean, that alone gives me more faith in Donald Trump than like Hillary Clinton or Obama, who, I mean, look at the drone program. I mean, if you look at the track record of Hillary and Obama, it should scare you half to death. When they talk about Libya, we came, we saw, he died. I mean, these people are evil. I would much rather have Donald Trump in there. When the world starts to lose faith, when the world starts to lose faith in the Federal Reserve note, we're going to go through pain. There's no escaping that. Let me leave you with this. There's no way around it. We have 100 years of abusing the dollar. The dollar died back in the 1960s. When they killed John F. Kennedy, that's officially when the dollar died. And from the 1960s on, the dollar, there's been no silver dollars anywhere. The American has stopped making silver dollars from the 1960s. Now we've just been abusing. We've been abusing the Federal Reserve note for 100 years, and now we have to go through the pain. The only reason why we have not seen the pain yet is the world is still under the illusion that America is this great place where her money is backed by gold. And when the world starts to lose faith in America, then we are going to have to pay the price at home. We're going to have to go through the pain. I know that's scary. Nobody likes to go through pain, but we have to go through the pain. And all I can tell you, if you want to get through this pain the best you can, try to get out there in the country, find an area where you can have a garden, accumulate some hard assets like silver and gold, but don't tell anybody about it. And when the people come, there will be people come. The government will send their troops in, and they'll come from door to door, and they'll be asking you for your silver and your gold. You're just going to have to get by that situation. You're going to have to hope they don't find it. And if they don't find your silver and gold, well, then you'll be better off. And, of course, you're going to have a big garden. And, of course, they'll probably take half of your food. But it'll be some pain. America, we have to go through this pain. Russia went through the pain when they collapsed. When their system collapsed, they went through the pain. There were Russians who had little gardens in their front window. They had to try to grow their tomatoes. Whatever they could grow in their windows, they grew because they did, there was no food to speak of. I mean, there's pain to go through when your central leaders and your central planners throw you under a bus and they destroy your money. 100 years of destroying the Federal Reserve note. Now we have to pay. Americans will suffer. Who knows? This pain may go on to your children and your great-grandchildren and your great-great-grandchildren. I hope the pain doesn't go that far, but we're going to have to get through it. We're going to get through it. I can just tell you that Silver and gold will help you get through it if you can hide it well enough. Of course, you're going to need a weapon. But more importantly than silver and gold and weapons and food, you're going to have family and friends. Move as close as you can to people you can trust. If you really want to survive the situation that's coming, move near people you can trust, people who have your back. If you can be in a neighborhood where people have your back, well, you'll be a lot better off than Erdogan, because Erdogan trusted some evil people who did not have his back. So just in case there's anybody in the inner cities who's listening to me, do yourself a favor. Don't trust Obama. Don't trust Hillary, because you're going to end up just like Erdogan ended up. And Erdogan almost didn't make it. So I just hope that if you're in the inner city and you are stuck there, I hope you have the luck that Erdogan has had, because you're going to need it.
Okay, okay, we only got about 30 seconds here. I told you it'd fit right into this segment, but it's very interesting stuff going on in Turkey. Keep your eye out for the latest I heard. Now, this was done a month after the coup. I think another month or so has passed. And the latest was when Biden came back, Kerry went over then and said he would release Erdogan, or would release Gulen, but it's going to take time. I tell you, they're never going to release this man. And I think their payoff is in the works right now, as this video was talking about. So it's the Russia, China, Turkey, Iran alliance. Look that up if you want to listen to it again. But I think the point was made. We'll be back tomorrow with Bert Krantz from the Alamo Ministry. And see you tomorrow.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie, with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.